Another thing that I got out of the psilocybin assisted therapy from the first session was at the end of when I was talking to that part of me that talks with my hands a lot, and I was talking really slow too, and really quietly. I didn't mention that. When I was talking like that, I had to talk really quietly. It helped me. And Connie, sometimes she couldn't even hear me. She told me, I can barely hear you. I'm like, this is as best as I can do right now. But my words were kind of really slow, and I was like doing this too. I was like slow. But after all the end of that discovery, Connie suggested to me to go back in and ask that part of me if there was anything else that it needed. And when I was talking to that part, it said, no, I feel appreciated, I feel seen, and appreciated for being allowed the time, because I really did. Time is a major stressor for me, and a lot of times I do need time. And sometimes I can find my words and they flow smoothly. Other times I have a hard time piecing them together. I don't know why. And yeah, but it felt appreciated. It felt seen. Oh, that's actually not what I want to talk about. It is, but there was something that happened sooner. Related to that part feeling appreciated, while I was still discovering it, that part actually, did I talk about this yesterday? I'll find out. Oh, crap. It's okay. It's related. That part at one point, it wanted to give my core self some compassion and some care. And it kind of gave me that feeling of gratitude that you normally think of from me for your core self giving to your parts, but it was the part giving it to me. Because it felt like, hey, I've been trying to understand, I've been doing all this and I'm still confused. And it felt that I could use the comforting. and it wanted to give it like kind of in unity, in symbiotic relationship, because it's all me, but partnership was the word I thought of at the time. I was just like, not quite that. It wasn't the right feel, but unity feels like a good word. It was just giving me that care, which was interesting. Later on, Connie told her about it. She said that, yeah, parts also have sound. This does sound familiar. I just don't know if I said it in yesterday's video or if that was from one of my original things that I saw it. It's okay. But another thing that, oh, my legs are dying. Ooh. Another thing that had come up. I'm losing the thoughts. Later on, after I was finished working with this part, Connie suggested, it's like, hey, why don't you go back in and ask it if there's anything else it needs from you right now. And so I did. And I said, no, it felt seen. And appreciated. It felt safe that we had been giving it time to do what it needed to help me. Still didn't know what to make of itself, what to make of how I would go about doing it, if it would just be for me only when I need it, or if I would intentionally try to use it, or if I could share it with other people. Yeah. But it said it didn't need anything else right now. It felt very appreciated. But it said, but your mind could really use that care. It could really use your attention from your core right now. Because my mind has tried really, really hard to get me to where I am today. Through my whole entire life, from being a child, I've always been in my head a lot. And it's done the best it could. It's had its mistakes. It's had full of anxiety. It's giving in to anxieties plenty, but I've also pushed myself to get through them. And sometimes that's just how I did. I just was like, I just got to do it, and do it scared. But it's done as best as it can, trying to piece things together, trying to understand, having times where it wants to give up, but not giving up, and always, even if I've had times of giving up, always coming back and just put a lot of effort. My mind has put a lot of effort to support me, even while suppressing that part of me that could have helped me to regulate, and not even knowing that it was suppressing it. Minds are so complicated. And it said, no, and you don't give yourself, I don't give myself enough credit. I often think that I'm not doing enough. I'm I've given into my fears too much. I consider myself a coward. But even when I'm facing my fears, I consider myself a coward because I have the fears. But if you don't have fear, then you're not actually being brave. So it's like, and I've called myself stupid plenty of times when I've been in a triggery space. That, I know that was an indirectly learned thing because my mom called herself stupid. She'd never called any of us kids, but she's called herself that. So I'm sure I picked that up in some other things. And she was not stupid by any stretch. She's very skilled. She had a lot of skills in a lot of things. She's the one that taught me how to replace my alternator in my car, and doing stuff on houses. Electrician, doesn't matter. But I've been hard on my mind, is what I'm saying. My mind's been hard on itself. And so I connected with it from my core self, and that same self energy, that part of me that helps me to talk with my hands, had I got a picture. I have a picture. My shirt. Be kind to your mind. That's right. I gave that same core energy to my mind, to myself, the feeling of gratitude, of deep gratitude and care and belonging and love. I gave that to my mind for everything that it's done and tried to do and will continue to try doing. And I was crying at this point. I was actually crying, and I started telling Connie about it, about what I was doing. And she's like, okay, well then why don't you, okay, well then go back in, because I was talking to her with my eyes closed, and give that to yourself then. I told her, I was like, no, you don't understand. I am giving that to myself. That's the reason I'm crying. I can tell you about it while I'm doing it. Earlier in the day, there was something else I don't remember, but I had told her something, and then she's like, well, do that. And I was like, well, I am doing that inside my head, so I can do both. Because sometimes you start talking, you come out of the thing, but it's just, but yeah, because I had been quiet when I gave it, and then I was crying, and I felt, okay, now is a good time to tell her while still kind of giving it. So it wasn't perfectly in parallel, but it's why I was crying. Tears of gratitude. And afterward, I asked Connie, it's like, well, I wish that we could go into our core, connect with our core space that deeply, like we do when we're in these sessions with the medicine, the psilocybin. I wish we could just go into that core space this deeply whenever we needed. If we needed to connect with our parts and do some inner parts work, I wish we could just go in that deeply, connect, and come back out whenever we need. But I know that outside of that, I don't feel it as strongly. And she's like, well, what are ways you can try to help remind yourself of it? I was like, well, I can try to remember what it felt like. And I tried to describe it at the time. It was the sensation here, that core energy, the feeling of gratitude. And I don't sense it as much now as when I was on that. That really does help me to connect with it. And yeah, just trying to describe it was the best I could do. It was just this kind of where it was, and just kind of an expansive kind of feeling. But it doesn't give it justice. But I also can't really recall it directly either in my body as strong now. But that's okay. But I just thought about that. And it did come up again in my second session. This thing does connect over to that too. But that's for another video. But that was probably the other biggest thing from the first session. There's some other things too, but I'll save those for another time. But the learning about the hands and that connecting with myself and giving the care from the part, and also the part telling me, hey, this other part needs. And the gratitude and appreciation and the love that all the efforts it has done as best with its ups and its downs. Not perfect. No part of me is perfect. Yeah, it was a very meaningful experience for myself. You know, I still had some struggles since then, but that's okay. Still working through things. It was a good experience. It was a very, very good experience. So I will see you on the card loud. I'll see you on the next video then. And I don't know if one thing is I realized on the second session I'll just say now is that the deep breath, it doesn't feel exactly the same, but it does remind me a bit of that feeling. And I think that's where some of the deep breaths come from, because it kind of reminds you a little bit of that feeling. So, yeah. I don't know how to end this, so just hold on for more videos to come. So take care. See ya.